Hi everyone, Sean here from the Sci-Fi Model Guy, and welcome to Chapter 10 and the final chapter of the U.S.S. Enterprise 1701D, where we will end this video with the final reveal, going all over the ship, the lights off, talking about everything that we learned and everything that we would have done different and everything we're proud of. So the beginning of this video, folks, if you are building along with me, really important that you do watch that and try not to skip to the end. I know for me, I always want to see the final reveals and with the lights off and all that, but everything before that is important, especially if you're building along with me. We're going over the decal application and some stuff like that. It's not too much. The majority of this video is the final reveal, and it's a long one, so we got about a 45-minute video, and that's it. So I apologize for not shaving and wearing this shirt. I'm kind of in a rush right now, getting ready to go on a trip for a couple of weeks. So this video that I'm recording right now actually won't be released for another week or two. And we've got a lot of content already built up. We got the Bird of Prey that is mostly completed, and I've got chapter 1 of that filmed and in the can, as they say, and ready to go. So everyone, that's it. Enjoy this video. This kit has been such a pleasure to make. I cannot tell you. This is like, you know, there's just sometimes those models that really make you happy that you're into the hobby. And this one, from beginning to end, every single step of the way, I had a great time building this. Usually when you're doing a kit, there's at least one or two parts of it that it just kind of get annoying and you just want to get through it and move on. Not so with this kit. I just really enjoyed it. And I know I keep saying that, but it really was a blast. So hopefully if you're doing this one along with me, you're having as much of a good time as I had. And if you're considering buying this kit, everyone, just order it. Just get it while they're available from AMT. They're still available, I think, around $40 or $50, depending on where you get it. All right, everyone, thanks a lot again for this journey. This was a blast. Had a wonderful time, and hopefully you're enjoying these videos too. Make sure to click on that like and subscribe, and we will see you down the road. All right, big moment of truth here, everybody. We're going to be attaching the saucer section to the star driver, the upper part of that. And for that, all of the wires have been fed through the hole here. Now, underneath the saucer section, there's a little tab that generally gets poked into there. I cut that off because I wanted to use this hole for the wires to go through. It seemed like a logical place to do it. So obviously we didn't paint anything here. I've sanded off everything I could. No decals, no paint, no anything. And there's also underneath here, there's nothing. So I'm going to be putting a tremendous amount of glue here, and then I'm going to be holding it together for a couple of minutes and then securing it with a couple of clamps. And just for this one, usually we use tape, but this is going to require some clamps. And then obviously just I'm going to be holding this by hand for, a good 10 minutes because it really needs to set. And then I will have to find a way to set it down on the bench here, and so it won't be disturbed. So before I even glue that, though, what I'm going to do is kind of dry fit it together and turn it upside down just to get my bearings and see, you know, will it require any props or things to hold up the saucer section to keep it level. So I'm going to do that, and then I'll come right back and show you what that result looks like. Okay, she's put together. So there was a little bit of a discrepancy with the way it's fitting. So we've got a pretty decent sized gap here. There is not that gap over there, and I believe that's stemming from the fact that the saucer section just did not go together exactly perfectly. You can see there's that little gap that we were talking about before. And this was something I had struggled with when I was initially building it. It's the piece there. I mean, I fiddled with it and just could not get it to align no matter what I did. So it was just looks like it's just one of those kits that isn't perfect, but it's fine. I mean, you know, all in all, we're not going to notice it. So we do have this nice gap here. So what I'm going to end up having to do is do some CA glue down in here, and then paint it a little bit and try to get it so that gap is just not so prevalent. We'll work on it later. It's just going to be one of those little things we clean up. But all in all, she's together. I held it with my hands for about 15 minutes So it is set. I definitely wouldn't lift it up. It would fall apart. But underneath here, I just have a roll of tape, and that's supporting it well enough to where it will glue in there. So when it's all done, when I'm able to turn it around and everything, what I'll do is I'll pour a little bit more cement, glue the model cement down in that gap so that it fuses together a little better. And then we will think about using a little more CA glue to cover any gaps that are there. I didn't really get a good look at it, but yeah, so there she is, everybody. The saucer is connected, and it more or less looks pretty good. Now in the show, obviously, we did see a little gap there, but this is just a little bit too much there. But we will get this straightened out, guaranteed. So, all right, that's it for now, and I'm going to go to bed. Take care, everyone. Okay, a little bit of a supplement here. So I ended up turning the ship the other way around, figuring that it would be best to support it from this end here because we need this to push down into the cavity there. So the way I had it before, it was just kind of pulling apart. So just inverting it here turned out to be the better choice. So if you're building along with me, this is how I think is the best way to go. Just support it from the back with a piece of roll of tape or something so that it's nice and flush. The other thing I will say is in these gaps here, in order to give the glue a better chance to hold, what I did was I laid in a little bit of CA glue in here. After, of course, let me go back here. So there was this gap, and when I had it upside down like this, I poured a lot of glue of this stuff. Sorry, the model cement glue into there. Just wanted to really kind of flood it with that and let that seep in. And then I topped it with some CA glue and got it with a little bit of the Instaset. So a little bit of it kind of spilled over here. I'm not too worried about it. I just used a little bit in here and on the other side there, and with the Instaset, and all that did was that little bit of CA glue is allowed this to kind of hold into place and act as clamps, or like what my fingers would, and that'll give all that glue that we put in here a chance to set. So that is the route I went. Like, again, you can kind of see where I wiped that off, but you know, I've got bright white light shining on it, and I'll get this with the matte spray a little with a little thin layer. When we're done, it should go away there. But I don't think I'm going to have to worry about this gap, and the gap on the other side that we talked about is a lot less prevalent now, so we should be okay. So, and that's it for now. All right, everyone, just about ready to close this up, but I wanted to talk a little bit about what we had to do here. So, as you can see here, there's the rod that came with the kit, and now that has been put in and the wires fed through. Now, you may notice right here, let's zoom in, because I don't think we talked about this before. So right there, you'll see that the rod comes through here, and you can see the end of it. Now, previously, this piece was, capped, and there was a little hole in it, and it gave a stop for this rod to so it wouldn't go all the way through. Unfortunately, because of the resin kit that we bought with the deflector array, let's zoom out so you can see it right here. Now this piece is bigger than what comes with the kit, so this little thing here was interfering with that because it was just too big. So I had to cut that off and put this through, and then use CA glue here for that. So the thing is, I don't really know if that CA glue is going to hold, and so when we're done mounting this thing, it will be on a base, and I'm going to have a couple other stands on there, kind of like we did with the Rio Grande Runabout, if you can recall. I did it kind of like on a tripod thing. So that's pretty much it here. So what I think I might do, I might come through and just cut this right here. I'm not so sure. Maybe, no, maybe not. No, because I'm going to have the base there, so it's going to have to go all the way through. But anyway, wanted to share that with you because I don't think we talked about that before. I did have to cut that off, and it does make it for a little bit difficulty as far as standing it up and looking at it and stuff. So what we're going to do is we're going to obviously put all the cement here, really load it up as best as we can without having it squirt out too much, because again, I don't want that glue to dissolve the paint. So everything's going to be kind of tucked in here. Usually we come out the front and then install a deflector dish, like with the 650 Enterprise, where that dish just goes right on. But this doesn't fit in that way. It has to be kind of glued in from behind. So what we had to do is kind of wire everything together. We taped it up. This a little bit of electrical tape just to group these wires together. Everything's good. There's shrink tube on everything. There's nothing shorted out. I've tested the lighting, which I am keeping you from seeing that right now. So we're going to go ahead and glue it and tuck this stuff in here, and then I'm going to hold it together. Now, the only kind of unfortunate thing here is that this gap. There is a gap on the deflector on the bottom here. So it's not really a gap, but I'm gonna have to like press down on the piece and hold it there for it to dry. So I'll put some like glue. I'll put some like model cement here on the sides here maybe, and then on this part here I'll maybe do with a little bit of CA glue just to get it to hold. And then I'll have to hope that holds for all time, and then maybe reinforce it with a little glue. But this is going to take a lot of pressure to get that to hold. So I need that to get locked down really well, because I can't sit here and hold this tight for 2 hours, because it's very springy. So it's going to have to grab a hold really fast. So I might just do that just on the top here. Hopefully you are seeing all this stuff just there, so I can see. You see there, if I let it go here and I press it down, see, I have to it's this gap. So anyway, and then we're probably going to have to use some kind of putty or gap filler on the sides of the deflector dish. It's just the way that this thing is curved. I don't think it's the way that this has been built. So, but yeah, she lights up just great. Very few light leaks from what I can tell. The nacelles look great. Everything looks great. So that's basically it. I'm not going to document my gluing of that because I need my hands. I need to concentrate on that. But I've pretty much explained what we're going to do. Just glue on the outside, hold it steady, maybe some CA glue just right there on the edge just to hold this down. And then we'll let that dry overnight and then come back. The only other little comment here is you can see the gap here didn't turn out to be quite as bad as I had thought. I might go through and paint this a little bit. I'm not so sure. I'm probably not going to. I mean, the ship actually does have a gap. It's a little tighter. There's not so much of a gap here as there is over here on this side. Hopefully you're seeing where I'm pointing. This is a little wider than over here. But, all in all, I mean, the thing's fitting together really nicely. And like we were saying before, we don't really look at this thing from underneath. So that's going to be one of the little things we're going to have to let go. But the decals all went on really nice. The microsol really grabbed hold of it and went through and got rid of all the air bubbles and pressed it down and spent a few hours doing that. And she came out really nice. I'm very, very happy with it. Yeah, okay, we'll do more final thoughts later. So stand by, everyone, and then we'll hopefully have a completed ship on some kind of a stand that I can show you. So we'll see you soon. Hey everyone, a little bit of a weird angle here, but we're coming to the end of the build, and just wanted to show a couple of things here that we're doing for these minor light leaks that we found. So right here is the deflector array, as we talked about. There are some light leaks right down here and here. Now, when I think I did record this, but when I put this together, I didn't record the actual gluing of it, but I used the model glue here and here, and along the middle here there was this nasty little gap. So I ended up using CA glue and model cement there, kind of a combination of it. The CA glue just because I needed it to grab a hold. I couldn't just sit there for 2 hours and hope for that to cure. So I needed a little bit of help from the CA glue. And then when that set a little bit, I went over here and filled the gap a little with some CA glue over here and here, because remember, CA glue is a gap filling medium. You can put it in there and paint over it. There still was a little bit of a gap, so what I did was I used this this little thing here. We've talked about this before. Now this is a well, it's came off. Sorry about that, edit. Now, this is a bottle of the liquid mask that I got in here. So it's really tough to get this stuff in here, but once you do, highly recommend. I think we've talked about it on this build. So I did this down here in this area right there. Just put a little bit of that mask just to fill whatever gap was left and to get that sealed up. Now, it goes on white and then it clears. When it dries, it's clear. So as soon as the light leak came back, I knew it was ready to paint. So this should be fine. I've got the copper here. This is the Tamiya XF28, and the deflector array is painted in that. Now this was brushed. I did not end up having to use my airbrush on this. It came out really nice. These resin pieces really take the paint nicely after you prime it. And then this middle section here, this is the photo etch stuff. I didn't even paint it at all. This is the original color. So it really matched really well. And we've got this nice glow. And when we turn off the lights here, you can really see the glow. You can kind of see here this blue kind of sneaking around the side. Now when the lights are really off here, it looks fabulous. So anyway, yeah, I'm just going to go here and paint, hand brush this with the copper. That should take care of the light leaks on the deflector array. There's nothing there on top, as you can see, and so on. So we got a few other photo etch pieces here, like this is a photo etch piece in front of the torpedo tube. The kit I have, all the phaser arrays, by the way, are photo etch. We'll talk about that at the end. I did not use the entirety of the little kit that came, so I'll save it for the next build. Anyway, okay, last note. You can see here the side of the ship has got putty, this white stripe right here in the middle. Now, I did end up having to use some clamps on there. I didn't want to use tape on this because I'd already put the decals on, and I was afraid of using the tape method, which I usually do is just going to rip that decal straight off, even though I've clear coated it. So I went with some clamps and held it, and again, I used a little bit of a cheating method with some CA glue. I really don't have a problem with that because we are putting a base of model glue in there, so that will weld the pieces together properly, and the CA glue is just to hold it tight. And then after that, I just went with the putty and just made it nice and level around there. So I will be painting that by hand. I'll probably end up using the deck tan, which is here. So we'll get to that in my things I've learned and regrets and stuff. So this is a Dectan XF55. It's really a gray, and for small areas it does touch up just fine, and you can't really tell. So I'm going to give it a shot and just paint the Dectan stripe there and see how it turns out. If it doesn't look good, I will decant some of the Tamiya light gray, the XF16 or AS16 rather, and we'll decant that and paint it there. So, and of course we have that on this other side as well, if I can get it to go in. So it turned out real nice. You can see some dark here. That's fine. That'll cover up with the paint, and then we're all set. And then it's just off to build the base. So she's looking really good there. Oh, look at that. I see a gap. I'm gonna have to fix that. Didn't even notice that. Oh boy, yeah, that came across, must have been when I was moving the model. We'll fix that up. No problem. See, it'll just close right up. Just needs a little glue. All right, guys. So I'm going to take care of this little problem there, and then we'll be right back. Well, everyone, here we are with the final reveal of the Enterprise D. Got the camera mounted here, and we're going to do some spinning around of this model and talk a little bit about things that I'm happy about, things that I wish would have gone a little bit different, and some things that I learned. So let's just start with just a little turnaround here. We'll turn the lights on soon enough, but hopefully you can see here, I am really happy with the decals. They really came out very well. I remember I had talked about this before, that there was a viewer who had said that they sand these pieces down to get it smooth so that the decals apply very well. I didn't have any problem really. There is a slight amount of silvering on here, but for me personally, I'm happy with the way that it turned out. So I didn't smooth it down, but what I did do is the model has quite a few layers of the clear coat. So almost to where the clear coat itself acted as a way to smooth it out some. So that prevented some of the silvering that might be experienced by some builders. And apologize if my voice is coming in and out. I'm turning my head away from the microphone here and there. But you can see here, I'm just zooming in really far. The decals went on really well, and if you recall, they're very shiny on these sheets. And if you see here, there's no shine to them at all. That's because we did a matte coat after we applied everything. So I think with the combination of several coats of clear to get these smoothed out as much as possible, and then the matte finish on the decals, and then I would say 6-7 applications of the microsol, which is that red bottle. So there's microset, which is the little blue vinegary smelling stuff that you use to apply the decals at first, and then after that dries out, you cover it with the microsol. And the microsol basically turns these things into like paint. And when I look here with the naked eye, there's a little bit right there that's missing. Every now and then you'll see a piece that kind of got torn, but in the grand scheme, you don't even notice it. Where were we? Yeah, so the several applications of the microsol really got that in, and then of course we did on the chapter 9. We showed where we used the X-Acto knife to get rid of any air pockets, just very carefully. The whole key word in this, guys, is patience. You have to have a lot of patience. So really happy with how it turned out overall. One of the things I was a little bit disappointed with, and the things that I think it was just about the model, is right here. I'll zoom in, and maybe you can see it from this angle right here. Right along there, you can see the bottom part of the saucer section kind of juts out a little bit. It's not a flush fit. And try as hard as I may, I could not get the saucer section to fit together flush. I think one part of it is just a little bit different of an oval shape. I mean, it's a big oval. Like, to be fair, it's big. I mean, we're talking about 13 inches wide at one point and probably 12 on the other. And to get two pieces like that to fit together absolutely perfectly is hard. I did toy with the idea of sanding this down to get it flush, but there would have been some loss of a little bit of detail. I had it together already and painted, and I just didn't think that little bit of jutting out was worth all that effort and possibly causing more damage than I was fixing, so to speak. So it was kind of hard to get in here and paint. If you look in there, there's it does look a little bit of chunky in there. There's some thrusters here on the sides that I just didn't paint. There's one here there's like 4. There's 1, 2, and then 3, 4 on the other side. But all in all, the ship did turn out looking really good. The wiring, as we've talked quite a bit about the wiring, I think I came up with a good scheme. The saucer section lights up good, or lights up well, rather. And we've got the nice lights on the impulse engines here. And the nav board, there's plenty of room inside the ship for the nav board. One of the differences having to do with the wiring, so we do talk about, like on the Enterprise, TOS Enterprise, we bring all the wires out of the main deflector array, terminate everything, connect it, and kind of shove it back in there and put the deflector array back on. This model doesn't allow that because it's swooped down. Let's see if we can take the camera off. So we'll do some low-level filming here. So if you can see here how it's swooped and it, there's an angle to it. It doesn't jut out, so you can't do it the same way as the original Enterprise. So you have to kind of connect everything in the middle of the ship, make sure that the wire isn't blocking any windows. You don't want any light blocks there, that unwanted light blocking. And and then you go. Sorry, guys, I'm just struggling for words. I didn't write a script. Anyway, we'll take some different shots of it here. She really came out good. And there's one thing cool I want to point out that I'm very proud of is right here. That little piece right there. If you go back and look earlier in the build, when we built the green strawberry deflector array, which is what this is, it came with 2 pieces of resin, and you use this to give a bend to the little piece in here. It makes it kind of contour or concave to fit the array. When I got that, I almost threw this piece away, and then I noticed that the curve was just about the same curve as the ship. And I knew that I was going to need to support this ship on the saucer section as well. It may be even a tripod configuration, because there's so much weight on here. I didn't want all that weight to go here, and I didn't want a lot of weight to be applied for where the saucer section connects to the star drive, because there's a lot of pressure in here, and I think over the years it might have been pulled apart or something, you know, you never know. And I just didn't want any sagging or drooping, so I figured why not just make a stand up here, and that's what this is. So I used that little piece that came for the green strawberry mount to put here as like the stand, and that came out really nicely. Now I could have painted this something, but I just didn't, because you know, from looking from far away. But this is just a hollow tube, aluminum. I could have used brass or something, and then I just drilled a hole there. Probably could clean this up some with a little stain. I've got those little markers that you can paint. Yeah, this is just built with poplar wood. You can see here, well, we'll get into the base here in a minute, but yeah, like here, right in this is what I was talking about. This is supposed to be a sensor array in here, and I probably could go back in and paint that up and clean it up some. Yeah, overall, really good. So why don't we turn on the lights here, and then we'll talk a little bit more. So there we go, and I'm going to pause. Actually, I'm going to pause the video here and turn off some of the lights here in the shop so we get a better view. All right, there we go. So we got the camera mounted again. So we're just going to spin this around, and as you can see, when the lights are on this ship, boy, does she sparkle. She glows so well. You might see here on the camera, like right here on the impulse drive, it looks like a light leak right there. That is not. That is the camera is just picking up the light a little bit different. From the naked eye, there is no light leak. In fact, I'm pleased to say that there are no light leaks on this, except for a couple very minor ones right here in the nacelle that you can barely notice. It just it came out so well. These things put together so nicely. I was so happy with the technique that we used to put this together. So if you're building this along with me, go back and watch that video on how these nacelles were put together, and I think you will be happy, especially with the way we painted them. Really happy with the blue. It's a transparent blue spray paint from Tamiya. However, I will say this, another thing I learned, it turned out very light. Like when I first painted it on, it was nice. It dried nice and blue. And then over the course of a couple of weeks, it seemed to lighten. So I think next time I do this, we're going to put several more layers of the blue on here to darken it, because it looks like it can really take some pretty nicely. And maybe even on the opposite side, put some more blue back there. Another thing here I noticed now on the camera here, this Bussard collector looks very bright on screen, but to naked eye, it's very cherry red. I did find some Krylon transparent cranberry paint. It's very much like the Tamiya that we use, but I found it on Amazon, so I ordered some. The next time I build the Enterprise C or the Enterprise D, I'm going to be going with this cranberry transparent paint from Krylon. I have a feeling that's going to turn out really nice, because the nacelles in Star Trek, they're not quite cherry red. They're kind of more of a pomegranate, like a darker red. I think that cranberry color will be perfect, several coats of that. But the Bussard collectors came out really nice and even. Again, I wish the camera wasn't picking it up so brightly. The saucer section, you can see here, the windows all came out really nice. Super happy with that. No light leaks at all. And I did see there was a couple comments in other videos about the technique of taping, masking the windows from the other side and painting it. And there was at least one person who thought that seemed like it was a waste of time. I just respectfully disagree with that. I think that the technique that we use for the windows and doing most of the light blocking from the inside and just masking over those, making sure that we light blocked from the inside, and that way it allowed us to scrape off all of the windows here when we were ready. And then when you're scraping out all these windows, what happens is the windows that are not to be lit still have a nice dark color. And then what I did was I went through with a fine 0.5 millimeter marker, very, very fine marker, and I just drew a line down into the windows that we didn't want lit. And it turned out the way you see it. It's not every window is lit up. I don't like that look. I did that on the Enterprise E, which you may have seen somewhere in the video or in the channel. And the Enterprise C had quite a number of windows lit. Upon looking at it, I do not like that look. I like the kind of randomized pattern. Now, I do think that there are more windows lit here than on the show, but that's fine. There's still this look of randomness here that I really like. And so, yeah, I do think next time I do the Enterprise C or Enterprise D, even the E, I will use that same technique of the way we did it. It might take a little bit of extra time, but for my money, it was time well spent. So let's zoom in here. We're going to zoom in there on the back. Now you can see here, there's these nice little blue thing. I don't know what these are. Maybe impulse power crystals or something. These two things are lit only with the interior light of the ship. Next time I go back and do this, I will put a couple SMDs over here to fully illuminate these. I like these little pieces of the ship. It's a neat little feature, and I wish they were a little brighter, but on the camera they come out nice. Let's zoom out some, and we're going to be looking at these lights here. Now these things are, I don't think on the show, but I looked at a bunch of clips and things of 3D renders people have done of the Enterprise D, and these show pretty apparent on those. I kind of like that look. I know this isn't really shown in the show, but there's something about, I really like these bright lights here. They just kind of give me something cool to look at, and so I was glad I put those in. These are warm white 3020 SMDs. I think that's what those are. We can go back and look here. So let's zoom out some more. We got some nice impulse drive right here. Came out really nice. Now, if you recall, back in building this, there was a little gap, and ended up filling that with a cool technique. I'm sure, again, a lot of people have done it, but I used the liquid mask, and I put that in one of those little tiny bottles with a little needle that comes out, and you're able to apply that stuff really finely. So that filled the gap. And then when it dries clear, then I just went through and painted that with the transparent red. And that did really nice to fill the gap there. So you could probably do a similar technique right here. And I'll zoom in to show that little light leak right here. You can kind of see that. I probably could have done the same thing there with the liquid mask and then paint the transparent blue. But I just let it go because it's such a small little piece there. I can live with it. Let's zoom out. Well, actually, let's take the camera off the thing again. You can see here we've got this nice aft torpedo tube right there. That is done with a fiber optic. It's 0.75 millimeter fiber optic wire or cable, and that is lit. I think we did demonstrate how that is done with the mushroom technique of putting the lighter so it mushrooms the end of it and it won't go through. Painted the end of it red, and then I just attached the other end to one of the pieces of the LED strip. We'll go in here. So another thing I kind of regret or would have done differently is right here. There's these photo etch pieces that we did talk about. I should have bored out more material. You can see there's like a step here. It would have been nice if that was flush. I didn't dig out enough material. So the next time I build this ship and I order this photo etch, I'll definitely do a better job with that. And that is obviously, well, where we did talk about is that's where the wiring comes through. And there was the other technique. I think I put a link to it in one of the videos here. You can do the wiring back here and go through. I just didn't like that. I liked the other option that was on that video of putting it in here on this photo etch. It's just the photo etch here is just one of the things I didn't quite get right. And I do appreciate, I think it was the SciFi modeler, or there's somebody, forgive me for not remembering correctly, but it sent me a note on some better techniques for photo etch. So just going to go back here and give you some cool shots there. Down here, there's that one light right there that should be blinking, but it's not. That was a personal choice I made. And the only reason I didn't want to have to kind of worry about the wiring of these things together. It was laziness. Bottom line, laziness, why these aren't blinking as they are on the top right there. You know, again, if I was doing this for another person or a commission, I definitely would have lit that. But I love this rear angle of the ship. This rear view, such a cool angle. Right here, you can see this little dark band right there in the chiller grills. That is a design flaw that these chiller grills just weren't long enough. One of these was shortened a bit, or maybe both of them were, and they didn't go together perfectly. So I had to put some CA glue in there to fill it, and then paint it, and it just, you see that little bit. That's a little bit disappointing. I probably could have done a bit better job, maybe done it with some solar res or something, but you know, at a certain point in the build, if you spend a month or two doing a build, sometimes you just like want to move on, and that was a point I did. Again, on a commission job, I would never ever cut corners like that. This one's just for, well, to be honest, I have never done a commission job, so if I were, I wouldn't do that. Now in here, there's the windows for the, I guess it's the engineering section. Now, when you zoom in, it's really chunky looking. You can see there's some mistakes there. It's just not exactly perfect. This part, folks, was really hard. These windows are tiny. So you've got these tiny windows there. And just for perspective, I'll put my finger. So there's my fingernail. My fingernail is pretty small. Whoops. Sorry about that. And you can see how tiny these little marks are. So to get the dental pick in there and have it steady and get it perfect is very difficult. I think I did okay. But compared to the windows here, like on the top of the saucer section, they're a lot longer here. So it's really kind of interesting how some windows on the ship are very long, and then you go down here toward the edge of the saucer section, they're very small, and then they get even smaller down here. So very long windows here on the bottom of the saucer section. And we might as well do some spin and look here. There's the big observation windows, and then obviously here's 10 forward, which is really nice. I like the way those came out. Cool front view of the ship there. And this is on the base there. I love this polyurethane. I was very happy that I took the time to put 3 coats of that on there, because you get this nice reflections there, and kind of adds to the cool factor when all the lights are off in here. Let's see here. We've got, the blinking navigation lights. And of course, I think we did talk about this earlier, where in the show, these aren't blinking. I put them in there blinking because I kind of like the movement. I like the steady state blinking there and the faster strobe there on the bridge. Personal choice. There is another strobe underneath, which you cannot see. Maybe if I were to zoom in, you can kind of sometimes see it in the reflection. You can kind of see it there, and maybe not. It's a little too bright in here yet, but the strobe light I put underneath there with the fiber optic, probably kind of a wasted effort because I can't see it, but I know it's there. Now, let's go to one of the coolest features of this here. I haven't talked about this yet, which is this communicator pin right there. That is almost an authentic prop. It's made from the mold of the original communicator pins. I've had this for quite some time, and I just thought that this would be a nice, safe area to display it instead of like in a bag on a shelf or anything like that. I wanted to secure it, and it's kind of part of this model. So again, it's not an actual prop, but made from the mold that did make the props, and it's painted and it's secured in there. And that's sitting on some red velvet, and I've got some 3020 soft warm SMDs that are just kind of plugged in there to illuminate it. When you look back, it really adds that nice look to it, nice and soft, almost like a museum piece. I'm pretty proud of this one. And then this here is just some clear fiberglass that I painted a frame there, and then carefully drilled these screws in, and that came out really nice. The two pieces that you see here, I wish it would have been one piece. I just could not find a piece of wood at the store when I was ready to build this case that was long enough. They do carry them, but they were out at the time, so I just had to go with these two. But it's a Poplar, Poplar. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but it is this wood. It's just a simple box. I didn't even document how I built it. It's very, very simple box that we built. It's just some glue, and you just cut some pieces of wood and slam them together. I'm not much of a carpenter, but they came out good. I really like this polyurethane on there. It'd be cool maybe to get a plaque printed up here for Enterprise D or something like that. But overall, super happy with this build. This build, you guys, was so much fun. It really, really was so much fun to build every step of the way, even the hard parts. I never got frustrated building this one. I never got annoyed, or I never felt like, gosh, I want to just get this over with and get to something else. I enjoyed every single step of this, and such a joy. I'm glad that I have another kit to build. I might even buy another one just for standby, because again, they're not going to manufacture these forever, and it's just a thrill. I really recommend, if you're a Star Trek fan or even a sci-fi model fan, definitely pick up one of these, and absolutely 100% recommend getting the green strawberry deflector array. That one really turned out well. And actually, we haven't talked about that, so let's take this down off again and talk a little bit about that array. We've spoken about it in other videos. So this is so cool. I'm just gushing over this piece. It's very high quality resin. It's you don't need to light block it. The piece that comes with the kit is clear, so you'd have to do a lot of painting, a lot of priming, and the more you got to paint these things, you know what it's like, the worse it gets. But this resin thing, it took the primer so beautifully, it took the paint so beautifully. And in here, let's turn off the light for just a second. Well, that didn't work. Okay, we're gonna have to zoom in here. So the array there, right in here, is let's use the little right there. That piece I hand brushed with the Tamiya copper, and it's just hand brush. It went on nice. It didn't show any streaks. I thought I was going to have to airbrush it. I didn't need to. It just went right on. The pieces here, so there's this photo etch piece and this little guy here in the middle. These came kind of a copper color. I didn't even have to paint them. The color was so close to the Tamiya copper that I was able to just leave it alone, which was nice because there's some cool details on this photo etch that maybe painting over them would have kind of hidden those. Behind here, now hopefully you've seen the other video, but behind here is this piece of clear resin or plastic, and that is what is illuminated from behind. I just sprayed the clear piece with the Tamiya blue, the same we did with the chiller grills. Sprayed that from behind, and I put a couple of I think it was a 1.5 millimeter SMD behind that, maybe two of them. And that just illuminates this. And so all this blue here that you see there, that's spillage light coming out from here. So it really turned out nice. And to the naked eye, you should see it, you guys. It just looks gorgeous because this camera picks things up very brightly. Captain's yacht. Well, there's really not much else to say. I've been yammering on for about 25 minutes on this thing. So I think what I'll do is I will put the video on pause here. I'm going to go turn off all the lights. in the shop, and then we'll show like a super dark version, and just so that all of the illumination on the ship will just be from the lighting alone. So give me 1 second, I'll come right back. All right, everyone, pardon my voice, I just sneezed like 6 times. So here we are, and all the illumination that you're seeing right here is from the ship itself. There is no lights on, and there are no lights on in the shop. It looks like she got twisted around a little bit here. Yeah, no lights on in the shop. This is all illumination that you're seeing from the ship itself. And I really like that some sci-fi shows nowadays are starting to do that, where they're not showing like starlight or, you know, sunlight on the ship. You know, like how is this part of the ship getting illuminated if there's no sun nearby? So I really like that that look, and this really captures that. So you can see the whole side of the ship here is illuminated just by the Bussard collectors and the chiller grill. You got this nice red effect on there, blue effect here, and it really, really shines. I really like that. So it's really cool. Here you can see some light leak here on the camera. I promise you, naked eye, I don't even see it. Again, this camera picks up stuff that you just won't see, especially from a normal viewing distance. We were really zoomed in there. From a normal viewing distance of 1 to 2 feet, you just don't see that. But look at this shot, you guys. I'm so proud of this build. I mean, the ship itself is just such a cool design. But I'm really happy. I've learned so much over the last year and a half or so that we've been together, from the tips that people have been sending in, from other videos that I'm watching, and just from my own learned experience. I know I've got so much longer to go, such a long way to go. There's so much to learn in this hobby. But, you know, every single kit that I build, and hopefully it's the same with you, you learn something. And so if something doesn't come out perfect, if something doesn't come out exactly how you envision it, if it doesn't come out to be something that you could see on the screen, you know, something, don't worry about it. It's, you know, I guarantee when you're building these kits, you guys, you're going to improve every time. I know that I do. You know, every kit I build, I learn something. Every kit I build, I get a little bit more practice, a little bit more refined. So have fun with it, you know. And if it's a ship that you really like this one's near and dear to my heart, buy 2, build 1, and then come back a year or 2 later if you've been building a lot, and build another one, and then compare and see how your skills have improved. That's a really good way to measure how you're doing. You know, you build the same ship a year or 2 apart, and you can see the progress that you've been making. But again, I'm really glad they put this ship out. It's I think it was time to build it, and I'm looking forward to building the other one here in another year or so, and see how much better I can do. I know I can do better, and I'm excited to see that come about. So, all right, you guys, that's it. We've been talking for a good 30 minutes or so, and I wish you all happy modeling, as Boyd from TrekWorks would say. And I want to just send a shout out to the sky. Boyd, I hope you're doing good, man. You've been an inspiration to me and so many other people, and you're with us, man. And you started this journey, so we're just continuing that. But anyway, guys, happy modeling, and we will see you down the road. Take care.